Hello, everyone. Thanks for attending tonight's Don't Do Dumb webinar. Again, I'm Jim Madel. For those of you that have joined us before, you probably know who I am. For those that are new to us, I've been with Hendricks Wealth and Estate Management for about 3 years now as a licensed financial advisor. I'm joined tonight by Sean Hendricks, who is also financial with our firm, and he is also an estate planning attorney,
Hello, everyone.
working. Uh, yeah, so thanks for joining, Sean.
Thank
We've
you.
been hosting these Don't Do Dumb webinars and live events since September of 2023. We've covered a variety of different topics, and tonight we're going to look at how much money you need for retirement. There is an area for you to submit questions. If you look down at the bottom black bar down there, there's a thing that says Q&A. So if you have any questions, fire them off. We'll look to answer them following the presentation. And be sure to stay with us till the end. We're going to give away 2 tickets to a Chicago Cubs game at Wrigley Field. So let's get started with tonight's presentation. All right, imagine your ideal retirement. What does it look like? Are you playing golf? Are you cruising the Greek Isles or tending to a flourishing garden? The activities and experience that you envision for your retirement will significantly impact how much money you're going to need. If you crave adventure and travel, you're going to need to factor in those expenses. But on the other hand, if you envision a quiet life closer to home, your costs might be a little bit lower. Having a clear vision of your ideal retirement is the first step to creating a sound financial plan. So we don't work our whole life to feel poor when we retire. We want your lifestyle to be as good, if not better, in retirement than it is during your working years. So you need to find out where your income goes now before retirement, so you have a target income to shoot for in retirement. If you have a current household income of, let's say, $75,000 today, we know that every dollar of that is either spent on needs, wants, and taxes, or saved in savings, checking, and investment accounts. Some of those amounts in the spending and saving columns will change in retirement. For example, a mortgage. Many people will have a mortgage paid off before retirement, which means they can back the expense of the principal and interest out of their income requirements for retirement. While others may want to buy a new home or even a second home so they can snowbird as they enter retirement, which is going to require extra money in their retirement years. Another cost that goes away for most people in retirement is FICA tax. That's a tax of 7.65% that you pay on earned income. So when you no longer have an earned income, as in retirement, you no longer pay this tax. So it's another kick off of the income you need in retirement. So once you determine your current spending in today's dollars, you need to account for inflation's impact on your retirement needs over the years preceding your retirement. We work with clients to capture all this data and give them an idea of where they're at in their journey to retirement and provide them with an income requirement that they need to achieve in retirement. Location, location, location. Where you choose to retire also plays a significant role in determining your retirement needs. If you're living in a bustling city with a high cost of living, it's going to require more money than in a rural town. Research the cost of living in your desired location. It includes housing, groceries, transportation, utilities. Factor in the cost of living and potential property tax increases to your income needs. For example, a beachfront property might sound like a great idea, but remember, property taxes and upkeep costs tend to be higher in coastal areas. Also, the state you retire may or may not tax your retirement income, like Social Security, pensions, and distributions from certain retirement accounts, like traditional IRAs and 401ks. Currently, the following states do not tax your retirement income: Illinois, Tennessee, Texas, Florida, Washington State, Alaska, Nevada, Wyoming, South Dakota, Iowa, Mississippi, Pennsylvania, and in 2026, New Hampshire is going to be joining this group. So the list is growing, but it's one thing to think about when you are planning on where you're going to live in retirement. Medical expenses are another consideration in retirement planning. Unfortunately, healthcare costs tend to increase as we age. And for those of us that have had our employer paying for a portion of our healthcare in our working years, the increase can sometimes be significant. For example, if you retire before age 65, you'll likely need to find health insurance to bridge the gap up to Medicare. And many times this cost can be upward of $10,000 per person per year. And when you reach age 65, remember, Medicare itself covers some healthcare costs, but you'll likely need to add a supplemental insurance, which all in could be a higher cost than you're paying for healthcare during your working years when you have an employer helping you pay for that. With regard to long-term care insurance, the playing field on this has changed over the past several years, and it's not necessarily the ideal fit for everyone that it once was. Even the larger companies that provide long-term care coverage have started to increase their rates or decrease their coverage on a regular basis, even for long-time policyholders. Around here, we usually think of long-term care insurance as portfolio protection insurance for the husband or wife that doesn't go into long-term care. This is a huge topic. We're probably going to expand on this in a future webinar, Don't Do Dumb webinar. But that's our thoughts on long-term care. Once you've identified your income requirements for retirement, you need to understand where that income is going to come from. For most people, their retirement income will be Social Security plus distributions from their retirement savings accounts. Others may add a pension into the mix, and still others will receive passive income from rental properties or the like. But if we look at the most common retirement income scenario of Social Security and distributions from retirement savings, let's say you have an annual spending need of $75,000 in retirement, and you're going to receive $50,000 of that from Social Security. Well, you're going to need to take the shortfall of $25,000 from your retirement account each year. So will you have enough saved in your retirement portfolio to take that $25,000 out every year and have your retirement savings last you the remainder of your life? Are you aggressive enough in your portfolio to achieve the gains you need? And are you keeping the right amount of money conservative for when the market goes down while you're retired? It's not a question of if it's going to go down. It will go down while you are retired, and you need to prepare for that. These are the questions that we answer for our clients on a personalized basis, because there is no one-size-fits-all approach to investing for retirement. After you've identified your income sources in retirement, you now need to determine if your retirement portfolio is going to last you through your retirement years. So you all likely know the balance of all of your accounts, but are they invested in the right manner? There's a common theory out there that takes 100 and subtracts your age to determine the percentage of funds you should have conservative. For some people, that concept works fine. But again, there's no one-size-fits-all approach. Some clients need more growth than that model could ever provide, while others can afford to be much more conservative than that model. In our practice, we had a whole seminar on this too. We think in terms of years, not percentages. We work with our clients to determine how much they'll need each year from their retirement portfolio, and we look to keep about 5 years of anticipated distributions conservative. Why 5? Because again, we work in terms of years, and there's never been a time in history where it's taken a well-diversified portfolio more than 5 years to go from top to bottom and then back to a new high. So we like to keep 5 years of their required distributions or their necessary distributions in something more conservative. So let's take the example from the last slide where the client would need $25,000 per year. For that client, we would likely have $125,000 invested conservatively for them, despite how that might work out to be as a percentage of their portfolio. And the reason I say likely is because if that happened to be 100% of their portfolio, then they'd probably need some. They'd probably need to be more aggressive to achieve some growth. And there'd be some clients that don't necessarily need the growth, and may want to have more years of distributions invested conservatively. So we tailor their needs accordingly. Then, with the income in retirement, there's still the inescapable reality of taxes to consider. Since taxes vary state to state, we're going to focus more on federal taxes. So your Social Security is about 75% taxable. Not taxed at 75%. Some people freak out when we say that, but it's about 75% of your Social Security benefit is taxable to you. Plus any pension you receive is taxable, and distributions you take from any traditional IRA or 401k are taxable. All of these sources count as your taxable income, and together they'll determine the percentage you're going to pay in taxes, or in other words, what tax bracket you live in retirement. The key here is to remember that although it will be likely a lower tax rate than you had in your working years, you will still pay taxes on the majority of your retirement income. So you also need to account for that in planning to have enough for retirement. Also, if you're fortunate enough to retire before age 62, remember you won't be eligible for Social Security yet. Therefore, you're going to need to take larger chunks of distributions from your retirement accounts to cover any income shortfall until you're eligible to start collecting those Social Security benefits at age 62. We touched on healthcare and long-term care insurance earlier, but can you afford to self-insure should you need long-term care? For our clients, we generally figure that if there's an excess of about $150,000 between what they have in their portfolio and what they will need to cover their retirement, they may be able to self-insure and possibly not need long-term care, but we assess that on an individual basis. Lastly, another thing to consider is, do you want to leave an inheritance for your heirs? It's another consideration when determining if you have enough for your retirement. That's usually one that we leave on the back burner. Make sure you're covered first. But if your desire is to leave something for your heirs, then factor it in when you're planning to see if you have enough money for your own retirement. How can you determine how much you will need to take out of your retirement accounts? Here's a few common concepts. Some people employ the 4% rule, which we dedicated I think this was one of our first ones, Sean. We did a whole Don't Do Dumb session to this. This rule suggests taking out 4% of your retirement savings in the first year and then adjusting for inflation in the following years. The 4% rule's been around a long time, but it has definite limitations in today's financial landscape. Changing market conditions like interest rates and volatility, coupled with increasing longevity. We're just living longer. It's left this approach pretty much outdated. Plus, it really doesn't allow the freedom to compensate for increased spending early in retirement and decreased spending later in retirement. The bucket strategy is the methodology we employ at our firm, and we do so really because of its flexibility. We can help our clients tailor distributions to their needs. We can usually tell our clients how much they're going to need annually from their retirement accounts to live their current lifestyle. We can tell them the maximum they can take out of their portfolio annually, or any scenario in between those two. So we can tell them how much we think they need. We can tell them how much the maxes they're going to be. So this bucket system that's where we employ that. Then we determine the dollars in each of their buckets based on their need for growth, their risk tolerance, and their retirement goals. So anything that they don't need for 5 or more years, we leave that conservative. Anything they need midterm, we put in more of a balanced fund. And anything short term, we usually put into fixed income products. And that helps secure them through the ups and downs of the market through their retirement. So let's do a quick review of what we covered tonight regarding having enough money for your retirement. One, what is your current spending? Take your income today and back out or add in things that change in retirement, like mortgage, taxes, healthcare, etc. Then adjust for inflation to determine what your annual income will need to be in retirement. Two, remember where you plan to retire is important. Many people we talk to here in Illinois can't wait to leave the state when they're retired due to the high taxes. But most of them don't understand that Illinois is one of the 13 or so states that won't tax your retirement income. So it's important to do some research ahead of time to know the costs associated with where you plan to retire. Number three, consider that an early retirement, while nice, may come with some additional expenses or larger distributions from your accounts. Before age 59 and a half, there could be penalties associated with distributions from some retirement accounts. Before age 62, you can't collect Social Security. And before age 65, you're not eligible for Medicare, which could increase your health care costs. So all of those ages have different gotchas that if you're prepared for them, you can overcome them and retire earlier. But just be prepared for some of the extra costs that are associated with retiring at different ages before age 65. Number four, what are your sources of income in retirement? Social Security, pensions, and passive income, such as income from rental properties. That's going to provide you with some of your income needs. And then you supplement those income sources with distributions from your retirement account to cover any shortfall in your retirement income needs. Five, do you have enough money in your retirement account to cover those distributions throughout your retirement? You got to figure out how much growth you're going to need on those monies and how aggressive you need to be with your investments. Number six is the bucket system. Remember, funds that may be used within 5 years should not be invested the same, or within 5 years should not be invested the same as long-term funds. By using the bucket approach, it's less likely you'll be forced to sell investments when they're down. And finally, if the presentation didn't make this noted, it's not a simple task to walk through all of these numbers, figuring in inflation and rate of return on your retirement accounts and making sure that you'll have enough money for retirement. That's why we'll help you build a personalized retirement calculator. We help all of our clients build one and potential clients to hopefully provide them with peace of mind up to and through their retirement years. Sean, you have anything you want to add?
Only that I mean, in looking over the names on the guest list, we may be preaching to the choir a little bit. I recognize most of the names as folks who are pretty good about coming in for, for reviews on a timely basis. But if you're not sure about any of these things, you can always reach out to us. Always schedule a review, because it's no coincidence that all of the things that Jim was talking about and going through all the different factors are elements that we plug into our analysis when we're doing retirement planning. So all of the things that are on here, if you feel unsure about, we can either schedule a meeting or we can review your retirement calculator to talk to you about those things. So other than that, though, I think most of the folks on this call are people who I know we see on a pretty regular basis.
Yeah. Thanks, Sean. Yeah, we do have a question out there. How are you, or what are you currently using for adjusting for inflation? So that's a good question. Inflation's been in the news a lot lately, and what we figure right now, we're back to about 3% right now as an annual rate of inflation. The past 3 or 4 years, it's been higher than that. But for the 30 years before that, or 20 or 30 years before that, it's been considerably lower. So we usually use about 3% when we're figuring for inflation. One of the only things that the people in Washington, D.C. can agree on is that they want inflation down between 2 to 2.5%. We use 3 as a safeguard. So I hope that answers your question. If anyone else has any questions, please enter them into the Q&A section, and Sean and I will stick on here for a little bit. I've posted on the screen right now some of the upcoming Don't Do Dumb sessions. On August 14th, we'll have another webinar that'll be covering trusts. So if anyone wants to learn more about trusts and how they work and some of the intricacies, I think we have a resident expert on our staff that'll be tackling that for you guys. Then in September, we'll have what's almost like the sister to this webinar. How much risk should I take in retirement? For clients of ours, which like Sean said, there's a lot of them on this webinar right now, but for clients of ours, if they're talking around the water cooler and people hear how much risk they're at, they might say, oh man, you're way too risky. But there's a method behind our madness, and we'll cover that in more detail. We're not just going to talk about why we use years, but that will be one of the things that we cover on there. But we want people to understand how much risk is necessary, and it changes for everyone. Again, none of this is a one size fits all. There's a reason that we go through and essentially interview even long-term clients time and time again, because you can have little intricacies in your lifestyle that can significantly change your approach to retirement. So, all right. Well, I don't see any other questions coming in here. So what we will do is we'll try this long. We're going to give away 2 tickets for the Monday, August 5th Cubs game versus the Minnesota Twins. So if you win the tickets, you will need to have the MLB Ballpark app on your phone, and I will email you the tickets. If you haven't been to a baseball game lately, they do not do any paper tickets anymore. So let me see if I can finally get this.
They don't even take cash anymore either.
No, they don't. Okay, I'm going to stop my share for a second, and then I'm going to try to get a different screen pulled up here. So bear with me 2 seconds. All right, let me see if this will work this time. All right, and I'll share my screen again. And we'll go with that one and share. All right, Sean, let me know when you can see it.
Still just us.
And I see my computer crawling along trying to get there.
There we go. Now it's thinking about it. There we go. Now I see it.
All right, so we will give away the Cubs tickets to all right. Congratulations. I know who that is, so I will contact you. I have your email address on hand here from when you registered, so I'll get in contact with you and get everything set up for you. So if there are no further questions, we'll conclude this evening's session and hope to see all of you again in August, if not sooner. All right. Thanks for joining all.
Thank you very much, everyone.